Hello, hello. Once again, it's 21 News Chief Meteorologist Eric Wilhelm here with Weather for Weather Geeks, the Valley's most detailed, nerdy, geeky weather video. Before we get to the current weather and the future weather, let's talk about the real future weather. We're talking the longer range right off the bat tonight because, as promised, I am going to do an update here on the winter forecast. It was about a month ago that we did the original 2018-2019 winter forecast, and I said, hey, in about a month we'll do an update. So it's been about a month, so let's get to it. And I don't have too many changes. Overall, actually, I like where our forecast is. You probably don't remember, but last year when I did an update in early December, I actually made some fairly sizable changes to the winter forecast, and those turned out to be the right changes overall. I did not have to make too many changes this time around. This was the original December forecast put out as part of the winter forecast a month ago. The overall idea was warmer than average out here, cooler than average perhaps up in New England, and pretty close to average in our part of the country, down into the southeast and the southern plains as well. So that was the forecast from a month ago. And now that we're into December, we have a lot of data to look at. The forecast overall pretty good shape for December. The warm anomalies may nudge a little farther to the east, but this is going to be maybe a real up and down month for us, and it may come out in the wash as pretty close to average. We'll probably run up some pretty decent sized deficits this week. It's going to be a cold week. We won't see average temperatures again until probably early next week, so we'll run a pretty big deficit from today through about the 11th of the month. And then we'll transition into a warmer pattern that may last a week to as much as 10 days, and that may negate a lot of the cool anomalies that we're going to see over the next week. And then as we get closer to Christmas and in kind of the last third of the month, or maybe the last week of the month, it may be pretty close to average a lot of that time. I don't see a lot of strong signals for colder than average or warmer than average at the end of the month. So that's why I'm kind of still keyed in on the idea here that it may end up as just kind of an average December, but a real yo-yo month. Pretty cold this week, and then pretty darn mild looking for next week, and perhaps even into the following week. I did not change anything with our temperature forecast for the entire winter. Despite the relatively average December, I'm still expecting winter to come out in the wash as colder than average. Perhaps even much colder than average, depending on how February goes, but I do think we're going to step down pretty quickly into a colder pattern as we get into January, and I still think the coldest month compared to average this winter will be February, and that's an enormous change compared to the last couple of years. We've had very, very warm Februaries, record warm Februaries each of the last 2 years. Each of the last 2 years, March has been colder than February. Not expecting a repeat of that this year. In fact, it could be borderline harsh this year for February. Did not change anything with the snow forecast either. Again, I think our forecast is in pretty good shape. All of these numbers, no matter where you are on the map, these are all near to maybe somewhat above average. Now, I think December is going to go into the record books as a relatively snowless month. Yes, we're going to see some snow in December, of course. We're seeing a little bit of snow out there this evening, but I suspect December will end up below average in the snow department, but we may make up for lost ground in January and especially into February. As I mentioned in the original winter forecast a month ago, the only caveat would be if it's too cold in February. When it gets really, really cold for sustained periods of time, usually that means the best moisture stays to the south as well. It's never too cold to snow, but the storm track can be suppressed so far to the south when you have Arctic air dominating the pattern that that's how we don't get much snow in a really cold pattern. So there's a chance that February ends up like that, but overall I do think snowfall numbers will be near average, maybe a little above average as well. All right, climatologically speaking, December is our second snowiest month of the calendar year, only trailing January. You know, it's pretty comparable to February. The reason February is a little lower, February is shorter by a few days. So December and February overall pretty comparable when it comes to average amounts of snow. Here in Northeast Ohio, Western PA, we had a fair amount of snow last December. I'm expecting less snow this December compared to last year. I put up this graphic a few days ago. Right now our sunsets are at 4:54, but in a couple of days we reach the minimum, if you will. That's not really the right way to say it. We reach the earliest sunsets. We don't reach our minimum daylight until, of course, the first day of astronomical winter. But as far as the earliest sunsets, yes. So we're going to hit those between the 5th and the 10th at 4:53. We'll pick up 10 minutes by the end of the month, at the end of the day, as far as daylight goes, and by the end of January, we're past 5:30 for those sunsets. So yeah, pretty dark month here in December. Last evening I had my windows open. We had a severe thunderstorm warning last evening in Trumbull County, some gusty storms that pushed through, especially the northern half of the county, but as promised, it's right back to winter today. It is a big change compared to the 7 o'clock hour Sunday evening. It's about 24 degrees colder, and this colder air mass is here to stay. Rain showers have, across the board, pretty much transitioned into kind of a drizzle flurry mix in a lot of spots. It's just kind of damp and chilly out there this evening. Not expecting any sort of impactful weather overnight, just colder weather, and same holds true for your Tuesday. Flurry here and there, maybe some sunny breaks, especially in western PA, but overall just kind of a benign Tuesday. Probably some flurries will pass through from time to time later Tuesday night and heading into Wednesday. Then we do have a cold front heading our way Thursday. This will reinforce the cold for Friday and the start of the weekend. It may also bring us a period of snow in the afternoon. Not really shown much on the model, the current run of our model here, but I do think there'll be some light snow around for the second half of Thursday. That might even add up to a couple of inches in some spots. We'll, of course, have more updates on that as we get a little bit closer. Here's the beginnings of that milder mid-month pattern. Here it is right there during the middle of next week. But until then, we're going to run between a handful of degrees and as much as 10 to 12 degrees colder than average over the next week. But it's nice to see all this red and orange in the 8 to 14 day outlook, if you're not a fan of the cold, that is. A lot of people at this time of the year like the cold as we get set for the holiday season, but if you're not a fan of high energy bills and freezing cold weather, you're going to like this map. This is the 8 to 14 day outlook, and will we have days like yesterday when it reached 63? Not sure about that, but I think consistently temperatures in the 40s and perhaps even 50s seeming pretty likely as we head into the middle of December, and that pattern may take us up through the 20th, maybe 21st. As we get closer to Christmas, I'm expecting a transition back to a little more typical late December temperatures. That's it for tonight's Weather for Weather Geeks. I'll see you back here Tuesday evening.